Bandits are back-to-back NLL champions.
It's Sunday night, 9 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. With me, as always, I have Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. How are you, Shawn?
Doing pretty good, thanks, Gary.
And over in Connecticut, I have Muffler Mike Kostiuk. Mike, how you doing?
I'm all right.
Just all right, eh? It's been a long weekend, guys. It's been a long weekend. A lot of lacrosse, a lot of other stuff going on. Busy show to get to. We have awards to discuss. We have games to discuss. We have summer ball to discuss. But before we do anything, let's just remind everybody that all the shows are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also Twitch. And you can catch all the action on ELPsports.com. Remember, hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons, and always share. As you can see, we have plenty of affiliates to check out stuff with. Please have a look. Every day of the week, we got something for you. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the podcasts and all the major podcasting companies. It's including Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, and so much more. Also, you can go to the EOP YouTube page at EOP Sports, or if you're looking for lacrosse stuff, all lacrosse all the time, and you can catch our library, you can catch retro games, you can catch press conferences, interviews, all kinds of stuff. We'll get more into that in a few minutes. Also, remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting EOPsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. And while you're there, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter. Just a couple of little things to remind people of. The McDougall fundraising tournament is coming up. That is July the 6th over at the Toronto Rock Athletic Center. You've got a Junior A game at 3 p.m., the Celebrity game, which always has a bunch of big names from all different sports coming in. At 6 p.m., there's a silent auction, there's a beer garden, live music. I believe entry is only $10, so you want to make it. If you're anywhere in the Ontario area, please put that on your calendars. It is for a great cause. It's helping kids reach their full potential in a number of different charities. That is the Rob McDougall Memorial. Also, in the Philadelphia area, July the 20th, it is Fan Cup. And I'll be in town that weekend. And we will be playing actually a Total Turf Experience in Pittman, New Jersey on that day, an all-day event. Remember, guys, win or lose, we drink the booze. Can't beat a tournament like that because the lacrosse are just going to be outstanding. But it is a lot of people that you've probably seen, known, or heard of at one point or another. Another really big thing to keep in mind is Lacrossing Barriers Fully Inclusive Day Camp. July 2nd and 5th, August 6th to 9th, August 26th to 30th. All Abilities and All Possibility Day Camp, designed to allow anyone who chooses to learn, laugh, and play. Our camps will be guided to everyone who comes to participate in the way they need. Ages 5 and up, 9 to 3 p.m. If you want more information, you can email scott@lacrossingbarriers.com or .org, and get your information there. Great ideas, great organization. They're doing terrific stuff all over Canada now, and they're looking to move into the U.S. So not enough of stuff like this going on. And pioneers, I'd say so, and doing so much. And have done a ton in the province of Alberta. I know they've had programs and are having programs here in Ontario now, close to here where I am. and it's only going to grow from there. So this is going to be fantastic. And if you can get these kids to do stuff in the summer as well, this is fantastic. Oh, look, Eduardo's with us. Greetings from I-10. On the way to New Orleans, traveler Eduardo. Thank you for dropping in with us while you're driving. Be safe. Be safe.
Yes.
Also, just a reminder, we talked briefly about it. I talked about it. We are on YouTube, guys. And there's another retro game up. It is actually the Buffalo Bandits against the Vancouver Ravens is the newest one up there for all to see from January of 2002. So pretty exciting. Now, here's a little bit of information I don't know if you guys are aware of. 50 years ago today, and for all of you in the Philadelphia area, the Flyers won the Stanley Cup 50 years ago, their very first one, today in the afternoon at the Spectrum. They beat Boston 2-1, and that was their fourth game, and they won. And if you go over to where all the stadiums are, and you go over into Broad Street Bullies or whatever, and you have the statue of Perron and Clark hoisting the cup. That same day in the evening, the Philadelphia Wings played their very first game at the Spectrum in the evening. I have a little clip from the 1974 thing just to show you the difference in where we came from and where we are now. Enjoy.
There, lets it go, and it's wide. And immediately Wilfong, and that's the quickness of Rochester. As soon as the shot was taken and he read deep rebound, was breaking down the court.
They practice that. It's a big part of their offense.
30-second shot violation. That's Brian Keegan, Griffin captain. One of the Fleetsters, screened by Jeff Newman. There's Kevin Parson. He'll be the key tonight to the Rochester attack. Picked up by Larry Lloyd, who whacks away at him. Gets another screen from Glenn Newman. Pivots, Newman breaking inside. Parson still with the ball. And we've got 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Feeds Keegan, breaks past Larry Lloyd. Wrap around, broken free to Terry Rowland. Rowland hawked that from behind by Keegan, but breaks up along the left wing. He's got Terry Lloyd in front. Goes right past Powers, shot. And a great save by Merv Marshall. Ball loose from the corner. They battle for it. And it's picked up by John Grant. Loses it. Gets control again, and the 30-second shot clock rewinds. 8 minutes remaining in the first period. 2-2. John Grant is in. He shoots, scores! John Grant breaks the string of 7 consecutive shutout periods.
Shawn Grant Sr., Hall of Famer, legend. Notice that they're all playing with Woodies. Now, granted, that wasn't in the Spectrum. That was actually in Rochester as the Griffins against the Wings. But you get the gist of it. That was the 1974 Philadelphia Wings.
Awesome.
50 years ago today.
Pretty cool stuff.
Started. Great history. Well, what can I say except we have a new champion, guys.
Well, not really new.
Well, it's not new. No. we've had a day to mull it over and digest it. But before we do that,
It's new to their rookies.
Yeah.
it's not really new, yeah. But our pick'ems.
Oh,
Oh.
skip it.
So close, Mike.
Mike, you had it in the thralls.
Yeah.
This year's champion is yours truly, 86-59. With Eduardo and Shawn right on my heels at 84-61, Pat at 80-65, and Mike, we were pulling for you, man. We were pulling for you.
Yeah.
71-74. But Mike spent a lot of time thinking outside the box, trying to find ways to jump to first. So a few little bounces here and there, this would have been a little bit different. So, yeah, that's the way it goes. There you go. I don't know, 1970s was so good. You're right, Doug.
Yeah.
You're right. I love watching a lot of those retro games. And just amazing. One of my favorite things in going to Peterborough is talking to a lot of the guys who played there, the Carm Collinses, the Johnny Davises, the John Grants, and they love talking about yesteryear, and Jim Wasson is another one, and comparing things, because stuff that we're getting now and we're thinking, boy, we're cutting edge now, we're getting to, they had all this stuff in the 70s. They had a full-time schedule. They had 40 games. They had the big arenas. They had TV. And we went backwards and stayed there for a long time. And now we're coming out of the doldrums again, and hopefully we're moving continually upward. But notice your door, Mike. It's kind of like the back of here.
Yep.
Yeah, got my O'Brien shirt up there. So another one from yesteryear, another friend of the show.
Yes.
But yep. The Bandits are back-to-back champions. They beat the Albany Firewolves in 2 consecutive games. We'll get into the games themselves in a few minutes. Just a couple of things to tidy up with it. Josh Byrne was the MVP of the finals, to go along with some of the other hardware that we'll talk about. Of course, the Bandits on their messy floor. And of course, today was their big rally. A few players didn't make it. Chase Fraser apparently was sick, and Matt Vince didn't make it either, neither did Stephen Orleman. I guess these things happen when you throw it together very quickly. But I guess with Memorial Day weekend next weekend, and next month is Bandits Day over at, for the Bisons, the baseball team there. You had to get it in somewhere, and this worked. I think one of their thinkings on having a Saturday and not a Sunday game instead of getting an extra day rest is so in case they could have this. So, but it is what it is. We'll get into the games themselves in a little bit, but I want to jump into a little bit of other stuff, junior and things like that. And, all of the summer stuff is starting now, guys. OJLL is starting. They had 1 game this week, and that was St. Catharines and Brampton for their initial OJLL game. And St. Catharines came away with an 11-9 victory there. Looking at the schedule upcoming, starting tomorrow, Burlington is in Six Nations for an early game. I know it's an early game because I'll be there for the first MSL game, which is part of the Bread and Cheese Festival, which is held every Victoria Day up in Six Nations in lieu of Victoria Day. And so the Six Nations Chiefs will be playing the Owen Sound North Stars. Be interesting to see that team and all that front office we told last week. Followed by that, Tuesday, Orangeville is playing Whitby. Wednesday, Toronto is playing St. Catharines. Thursday, Whitby is playing Oakville. Friday, Mimico is playing Kitchener, and Six Nations is playing Peterborough. And as well, Burlington is playing Toronto, and Orangeville is playing Brampton. It is a busy slate week. And on Saturday, St. Catharines is playing Mimico. And next Sunday, Brampton is playing Burlington. Oakville is playing Six Nations. Kitchener is playing Orangeville. It is a busy 7 days ahead. I must have rhymed off 10 games there. Making up for lost time, I see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Shawn, you had some junior scores from the West?
Yeah, I guess we can. Busy weekend actually over in BC. Friday night, Coquitlam picked up a 9-7 win over Port Coquitlam. Then heading into Saturday, Victoria was over Delta 13-11, and Nanaimo stayed undefeated with a 13-7 win over Burnaby. And then just this afternoon, wrapping up, Nanaimo defeated Langley 11-7, and Port Coquitlam was 10-9 winners over Victoria. So just kind of looking at the standings into the BC Juniors, Nanaimo is now 3-0. We got kind of a log jam for second with Victoria, Port Coquitlam, and Coquitlam at 2-1. Burnaby's 1-1. Langley and New West are still looking for their first wins at 0-1, and then Delta's holding up the bottom of the standings at 0-3. Then over at the Alberta, the Rocky Mountain Junior League, the Calgary Mountaineers were 8-4 winners over the Saskatchewan SWAT in Saskatoon, and that's actually a 3-game weekend series between those teams. So they're playing again tonight as well as Monday night. So right now the Miners are 2-0. Mounties are 1-1, while the SWAT and Raiders sit at 0-1.
That's the league to keep your eye on. That's the up and comer, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, Mounties usually always have a tough team with Calgary, and I mean, we saw what the Miners did last year. I mean,
Right.
I think those are two that are really probably going to battle for first place throughout the year.
Right. Hey, Dave, welcome. Thank you very much
Dave.
for sticking around with us. Appreciate it. And Doug, definitely, we can talk about that league all night long. Love it. Can never get too much of that. All right, over to the Ontario Series Lacrosse. Just a couple of games this weekend. Six Nations kept up their winning ways. They beat Hamilton 10-7. And Brooklyn kept up their winning ways, handing Owen Sound their first loss of the season, beating them 17-10. Apparently, the score sheet is wrong on the Six Nations one. Apparently, it was 10-8. But for some reason, they didn't write in the last goal. I don't know. It is what it is. But coming up this week, you have Brooklyn facing Owen Sound again, over in Owen Sound. Clearview will be playing Ennismore. And again, the following day, that's Saturday. And next Sunday, you have Clearview and Ennismore facing off again. So busy little schedule there. Standing so far, interestingly enough, you have the Six Nations Rivermen at 5-1. On their heels is the Brooklyn Merchants at 4-1. Owen Sound is at 2-1. Hamilton is at 2-4. Remember, they started out strong with a couple of wins. Clearview is at 1-3, and Ennismore is at 0-4. I am cheering for Ennismore. Come on, you can get that. One next week against Clearview. We'll see. Alrighty. Again, MSL starts up tomorrow, and then they are off until the following week. Looking at that schedule, we have Six Nations, of course, hosting Owen Sound tomorrow. Then a week Wednesday, the 29th, Owen Sound plays in Brooklyn. Then that Saturday is the return of the home and home. Brooklyn goes to Owen Sound. And on the Sunday, you have Brampton playing Coburg in Coburg for those 6 o'clock games over in the meat locker there. Cool place, man. And then on the Monday, you have Peterborough facing Oakville as Oakville makes their return to MSL over at the track. Alrighty. So, without further ado, let's talk about the weekend that was in the NLL. And we're going to start out, of course, with Friday night's game over in Albany. And, well, why don't we play it, and then we'll come and talk about it.
Repossession by the Bandits. Luce big behind the back, goes to Smith, the cross, Byrne shoots, scores! Lethal from Josh Byrne. And Buffalo breaks through for their first lead. That's John into the hands of Simmons in tight. Kurtz, crease, crash, scores! Courageous Kurtz. Third straight power play to open the game for the Buffalo Bandits, who are 1 for 2. Dane Smith scores! Kluche goes back to Dane Smith. Dane Smith, no room there. In tight, there is no Kluche. Twister scores! Buffalo gets the inside look, and they have the 5-4 lead. This year, quite the story, this group in Albany. And Simmons, a big part of the restoration of the fantastic goal for the Firewolves. To the bench, Buffalo about to go back to the power play. They've had 3. Kluche shoots, scores! Off the delayed call, Chris Kluche It's the first goal, the third to tie it for Buffalo. They know it's a championship series. Nice move, Fraser. Inchu scores! No! Across floor in the fourth. On the run up top, Simmons shoots, scores! Tonight, Dane Smith, Buchanan, Smith, Buchanan, Smith, shoots, scores! Amazing goal! Trying to increase their lead, just one goal in the half. The second half from the Firewolves. Bird scores! Buffalo on a run, and they reach double digits. Thanks to Bird.
All right, guys. Let's go through this. Albany looked good to start this game. And they were getting inside and they were taking a body. But you know what happens is that Buffalo defense is so punishing. And after a while, your instincts go, you don't want to go inside that much. By the fourth, they weren't going anywhere near inside. An interesting stat is when they go inside, they score probably just under half the time. But if you're not going there, you're not scoring any of the time because that's what Vince wants is outside shots, and he can scoop those up all day long. And it's no fluke that why Buffalo takes off in the fourth. The other teams are done. They're spent. They're bruised. They're battered by the fourth, and they're not going in. And then they don't have it going back the other way. The back and forth that you're seeing in the first couple of quarters, you don't see in the fourth because of that. Shawn, what's your take on this?
Yeah, and it really was a tale of two halves, wasn't it? And I also took away with that is the Bandits offense just did what they do, especially in that second half where they score in bunches. And it's just that momentum, right? Like a boulder going downhill. Once it just gains momentum, it's just hard to stop it. And that's how Buffalo's been for years now.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the discrepancy in shots, 56-45 in favor of Buffalo. So, that's telling right there. I don't have division by half, but I wouldn't be surprised if they started to just pour it on in the fourth and ended up taking the majority of the shots in the second half.
Right. Now, remember, Albany was leading 6-5 at the half. They played a pretty good half. It was 4-4 after one and 6-5 after two. And really, they were matching Buffalo. They were using the body. They were taking a lot of hits. And it was starting to mount up. So, again, adjustments at the half. And I find it hard to believe that Glenn Clark didn't make adjustments. I just think that, again, we've talked about this before. The Bandits know how to win playoff games. They know what it takes. They're not afraid to put their bodies on the line. And, again, one of the smartest moves that they made was picking up Paul Dawson, who we thought maybe would be a bit slow and added more age to an already aging team. But he added toughness, but didn't play stupid. I don't think he took a penalty in the finals.
That's a good point, Gary. Sorry, Gary. I was going to say it's a good point. You're talking about the age. That's what's really kind of showed up in this playoffs was the experience. I know we were worried, are they going to be too slow? Are they going to be a step behind this young Albany team? Experience maybe is what came down to. Another point, too. I know it was only one power play, but Albany was 0 for 1. We've talked about it before and how Albany's power play struggled.
Right. And yeah, he rose in the playoffs more in game 2 than in game 1, but he was still a factor in game 1. And whenever he's on the floor, he's going to draw defensive coverage because he's just so dangerous. And it's true, veterans have another gear. Youth exuberance and stuff like that, but they're apt to make mistakes because they're going to be going with excitement and adrenaline. Whereas veterans know what the systems are, know what they have to play. No, again, it goes down to the old Bill Belichick thing. Do your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do his, do yours. Yeah. And Dave's right on that one too. Good teams always find ways to win. And, it's been the story of the entire playoffs again for the Bandits. Georgia had that opportunity. If Oaks was in the lineup, I would be very curious to see if they even get to overtime or if they get out of the overtime. But that didn't happen. And then Toronto got the Bandit juggernaut who just gained more and more confidence in every minute that they played. And Toronto fed right into them with outside shooting and nobody wanting to go inside and nobody wanting to pay the price or take the hits. And then Buffalo, a full-blown, absolute confident bunch, goes into Albany, apparently the underdog, and, comes away with that first game victory. And, again, the score isn't indicative of the game itself. You take away the last 5 minutes, and this is really a 1 or 2 goal game again. And, the last few minutes, it got poured on. But, I would say Albany played 47 to 52 minutes excellent lacrosse. But Buffalo played 57 minutes of excellent lacrosse. And that difference was the last 5-7 minutes of the fourth quarter. Yeah. The funny thing is I don't think Buffalo was the underdog. I think Albany, being the young team who only had 3 wins last year, was the underdog. But they weren't playing as though they had nothing to lose. At times, they looked like they were playing scared. At times, they looked like they were playing with exuberance. It was to be in one mindset, I think, was what they need to learn. And time will put that one into perspective for them. And we'll get more into it when we talk about game 2, because I have a few little things about that one, which was also a little bit strange. Penalty-wise, Mike, Buffalo didn't take one penalty in that game.
Yeah, I believe so.
And Albany did what they couldn't do, and it was a parade to the box. My opinion,
8-2.
a little bit of ticky-tack penalties, but it's playoffs, it's finals. Let them play, give them a flow. But it is what it is. You're saying, Mike?
Yeah, 8-2. Albany had 8 penalty minutes in game 1. Buffalo had 2, and
right.
2 of those 8 minutes were like delay a game. So,
right. So, yeah. So the first game was 12-8, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, it was. But with the penalties, I mean, you could also point out. I mean, Buffalo was handed 3 power plays in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and actually, you just talked about delay games. I mean, those are mistakes that a championship team would know better, right? And something that Sally's got to learn from.
And Doug makes a perfect comment about that one too. Every mistake that Albany made, Buffalo made them pay.
Yeah.
Toronto found that out in the semis. Every mistake that they made, Buffalo made them pay. Even little gaffes by not getting to the bench quick enough, and Buffalo made them pay. Same here. You have to play almost perfect in the playoffs against this particular Bandits team, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, and to address that comment about the vet, having that vet that says, "Hey, I've been here before, chill." Albany had 2 in Leo Storos and Anthony Jokum, who've both won cups.
Right.
So,
what I think that Albany needs to do is get tougher. They need a bigger guy, a couple of bigger guys, because they were getting pushed around, and they really had nobody to stand up and fight for it. If Nathan Grennan is the guy who's going to be standing up for your team, you don't have a big guy that's going to stand up for your team. One of those so-called, disposable guys who can take the penalty. like Buffalo has a Nick Weiss, who's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he will, be a pit bull and will be happy to sit in a box if he's taking one of your offensive guys off while he's doing it.
True.
So, all right, let's have a look at game 2 as they went into Bandit Land. Little bit different than, of course, Albany. 19,000 people. If you look at our background, that's Bandit Land in our background. We're sitting amongst the 19,000 there. Here we go.
Looking to go back-to-back. These guys are ahead of schedule. They're playing with house money. What a goal to open it up! John. Another possession call. Dane Smith shoots, scores! Fit in perfectly in Buffalo, coming up with plays like that. Byrne moved it in. Robinson scores! Albany. Alex Simmons shoots, scores! Simmons. Anacote, who's got one tonight. The Hogan Anacote bodies his way in, turn, shoots, scores! Bandits. 15 to shoot, Burns slicing through. Kluche scores! What a backhand beauty! Bandits are bringing right now. Byrne over the top. That one blocked. Getting back to it. Fraser, low ball, scores! Oh, what a move! For their first appearance in Albany franchise history with the Firewolves. Firth shoots, scores! And he'll claw back a little more. What a night for Sam Firth over the first 2 quarters in game 2. Low shot, stinger. And the Firewolves are putting together the back end of the second to get back in this game. Josh Byrne. Dish that off. Smith shoots, scores! Running down a dream. Buffalo. Up the floor. Fraser. Stop, shoot, scores! Kluche. Fraser swims, crashes, scores! Bandits possession. A little more room on the floor. 4-on-4. Josh Byrne shoots, scores! Jamison apiece, but not enough. Buffalo bench. The Bandits take another possession. 4-goal run from Buffalo. They've got another. And Jamison can't believe it. Taking their time. Bird, nice pass. Over to Smith. Quick stick, Robinson scores! The last of 4 to touch it. Buffalo, it's 2 in a row. The Bandits are back-to-back NLL champions.
Alrighty. We saw a lot of stuff there, guys. You're coming into Bandit Land. You're Albany. You're coming into 19,000 plus people, sold out place. Place is nuts. And in the first 2 minutes, you get a power play, but you give up a shorthanded goal. Not exactly the way the script is supposed to be played out. Now, they did fight back. Don't get me wrong. They played well. Mind you, when it was 8-3 in the second, I thought this thing was going to be a runaway. I really thought that Buffalo was just going to keep going. I watched it last year with Colorado that they just shut the door, and that was the end of it. But Sam Firth had the game of games, 5 goals. And, of course, your rookie of the year, Simmons, also had a great night too, even though he got a little hot on the collar later in the game, but we'll get to that. When it got to be 9-8 in the beginning of the third, thinking, this could get interesting. If it's tied, we're now in a whole different realm. But Dane Smith comes back, scores a big goal. Chase Fraser comes in with a few of these things, and every goal he scored was of a different style. He fired one from outside. He dove across the crease. He even had a hidden ball trick. Who tries a hidden ball trick in the finals? And was successful. Then, of course, you have Josh Byrne, who had 7 assists in the first half and then got a goal to add to another assist in the second half when needed and pulled Buffalo ahead by another 6 goals. Albany starts fighting back again and brings it within 2 goals at the end, but just runs out of time. This Albany team doesn't quit. They should hold their heads up. My only thing that I didn't like about that game was when Brett Frude was announcing the Albany Firewolves as a great season and Banditland booed. Come on, guys.
Yeah,
That
I'd
was
like
disrespectful.
Come on.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, just a lot of comments on Facebook, just in real poor taste about the attendance at game 1.
I always look at it this way: is if it's not coming out of your bank account, why do you care? Why do you care? If it's not coming out of your account?
And admittedly, I shouldn't let it bother me to the extent that it has, but
No, I'm addressing the comments.
To sit there and to mock every single other team's attendance just because you have the biggest attendance in the league, it does zero, absolutely zero, to grow the game.
Mm-hmm.
It accomplishes nothing.
Some of these teams, and I'm sure Albany's one of them, can't even hold 19,000.
Well,
They're going to pack it as much as they can.
Yeah, most of these arenas can't hold.
Yeah.
It bothers me because it's the same clowns over and over again, who are clearly, they're clearly Bandit fans. That's great.
Every fan base.
You've won twice in a row. But I saw these comments halfway through the season at a game in Halifax where they had their first sellout. They sold out the entire arena in Halifax, which is half the size of the KeyBank Center. And here come the Bandit fans onto Halifax's page to mock the attendance. Oh, we have more. We get twice that every night.
Mm-hmm.
What is that doing for the game?
Like I say, every fan base has got clowns in it. And the majority of the people are very good people. And Banditland is no different. Toronto has got the same thing. I'm sure Saskatchewan has got their fair share of fools as well as great people. Vancouver, you can name anybody. Halifax, there's more of them, so you're going to see more of it, and there's more pages where it goes. And they might be just a little more brash. But I'm not going to let that mar what was a really great playoff series. And, I'll give the kudos to Buffalo. They didn't take an easy way there. They came in as number 4. They barely got a home game. We didn't even think they were going to get a home game. They had to beat Georgia in overtime. They had to beat the number 1 team in Toronto. And they beat them twice, convincingly. And then they had to take a team that was strong all year and had beat them twice. And beat them both on the road and at home to win it. So, Buffalo went undefeated in the playoffs. Guys that needed to step up. We talked about it during the year. Are they old? Or is their offense predictable? Well, it wasn't all that predictable in game 2 especially. And Fraser stepped up with 5 goals. He was the number 1 star of the game. Josh Byrne stepped up with a goal and 8 assists and was the MVP of the finals. Dane Smith, solid as a rock, doing what Dane Smith does. I think it was 2 goals, 5 assists. Unbelievable. And then, of course, You have Kluche who added a couple of goals. You have Nanakoko who added a couple of goals. But, it's a continuous thing when it counts. This team is there. Defensively, Nick Weiss, fantastic. Ian McKay, how many times did you see him in transition going up? Priolo as the leader. And again, we're talking about Paul Dawson. What a move by Chugger to pick him up from Colorado. Everybody talks about all in here, all in there. Well, it cost him dearly, but it was all in for this one, and boy, did it pay in dividends. So,
Yeah. If I can add that, Gary, just going
Sure.
back to what you're talking about with not taking the easy road, with only a few weeks left in the season, we were actually talking, is this Buffalo team even going to make the playoffs?
yeah, exactly. And, Matt Vince,
they were
once he got back
5 and
from
6 at one point. So
Yeah.
once Matt Vince got back from injury and actually shook off the rust, I don't think he lost a game the rest of the season. And Buffalo was in playoff mode already because they needed to be just to get into the playoffs first off and get a home playoff game. We talked about this in hockey before. And teams that finish and just squeak in an eighth and all of a sudden upset the number one team, well, it's because they've been in playoff mode for a month. Whereas the other guys have been sitting back, resting, and kind of lollygagging away. Buffalo was in full playoff mode weeks before. Yeah, Mike? Yeah, interesting enough.
Yeah.
But it's just the way Albany was set up to play. Buffalo has Toronto figured out, and Toronto's coaching didn't do anything to change that in the playoffs or in the season. And Buffalo has it completely figured out. And there's no need for Buffalo to change anything until Toronto proves that they can actually figure out that defensive scheme. Albany, on the other hand, if you noticed in game 1, that box didn't work because they were running all over the place, and the Bandits were chasing them, which pulled it away, which gave them opportunities to get inside. Now, after enough banging around, they stopped doing that. Hence the fourth quarter. In game 2, that happened in the third quarter. It started taking its toll. Guys like Simmons were going off hurt. A number of the other guys were going off hurt and then coming back on because it's game 2 of the finals. If it was during, week 14, you might have seen them go to the dressing room and that's it.
Yeah, and they got shut out in that third quarter too, 2-zip.
Yeah.
So I mean, they outscored Buffalo 5-1 in the final quarter. So
Connor Farrell didn't have much of an impact in game 1, but in game 2, big impact. Big impact. He made the adjustments against Nardella.
I think he out-dueled Nardella.
Yep.
In game 2. So
I think Nardella got hurt.
I was going to say, I wanted just the comments that the announcers made kind of in that highlights about Albany playing with house money, because let's face it, beginning of the season, no one really had any expectations on Albany.
It's very true.
And then to look at that game 2, and like you said, Gary, they were down and out, but they kept fighting. They did not give up.
The final buzzer. In fact, they scored with 7 seconds left.
That's got to be a great sign for Firewolves and their fans that there's good things to come. And as we talked before, you still have Dyson Williams coming down the pipes. So hold your head out high
also,
because there's greater things to come. You may have lost this one, but there's greater things to come.
And just a correction, Albany actually won the face-off battle in game 2, 17-15.
Right.
And the shots were nearly even that in game 2, 51-49 in favor of Buffalo.
Right.
So.
But again, kudos to the Bandits. When they needed it, they got it.
Yeah.
And when they needed their big guys to step up, they got it from everybody. Everybody.
Yep. But one more time, for their clown fans, be better.
Yeah. Back-to-back champions. Now, the other interesting thing is, of course, Matt Vince in his 40s. The question was, do you hang him up now that you are leaving a champion? Thought maybe last year you'd hang him up leaving a champion. You've done it twice. there's no way he's hanging him up. He has an opportunity to three-peat with a second team. Think about that.
That's
now.
crazy.
That's Michael Jordan-esque. That's nuts.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, no, we agree with you. We agree
Definitely.
with
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. I've been pretty quiet online all weekend.
Yeah.
So,
and for the majority of Bandit fans, we appreciate you and all that you are. And all that you do, and all your
I should point out, because there were plenty after the celebrations and all. There were plenty of comments from Bandit fans on the Albany page. Just where Albany was kind of, hey, thanks for a great season, that kind of stuff. And there were the fair share of Bandit fans saying, hey, Bandit fan here, you guys gave us a great series. We really thought it was razor thin. Congratulations on your season and all that. So and acknowledging that they're going to come back. They're going to come back next year and potentially be stronger, like we said, with the addition of Dyson Williams and Will Johansson.
Well, Doug, I think that we're bypassing both Shanahan and Orleman, and I think they're waiting till Konstantinopoulos is ready, because he was on the floor also, being on the practice squad. He's hard to miss. He's like 6'8". He's humongous. When I saw him at the draft in September, man, and my neck cringed. You could show movies on his back. He's big, I'm telling you. And I think they're just waiting for him to get his NLL legs. And if it all works as to planned and Vince is coming back for another year and you put him there you go. Absolutely. Well, they tried this experiment with Braun Strowman. I mean, with David DeRuscio in Buffalo. But he had some other things going on, and then of course off he went. But this kid is good, and had a great junior career. So,
do we know offhand
which goalie is because this kid's 21?
I was gonna say, do we know offhand where he's playing summer ball?
I don't. I think it was Whitby. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And we know Shanahan's probably going to be in Nanaimo. Let's
hope, because whatever went down, they put him on the holdout list off the bench. That's still a head scratcher that you took your backup, put him there, and then you put Orleman to open and close the gate, because I think he got into one game.
Yeah. Well, when Vince was out, Shanahan was the one, I think, in net for the majority.
Yeah, and then they put Orleman in. They didn't like what they saw there, so I don't know. I'm hoping that whatever gets worked out. So summer ball is usually a good place to go and work things out and work on things. So,
yep.
But I have a little montage, just one last Bandit thing. Sorry, Mike. We used a bit of it for the opening, but and a bit of it you saw, of course, on the NLL compilation there. But just a few little things.
It's 2 in a row. The Bandits are back-to-back NLL champions. We've seen it before, but it doesn't get old. Back-to-back champs. The great young. That is the goal right here. This is the goal.
thought I spliced that together rather nicely. Again, congratulations, Buffalo Bandits, on repeating. Not a whole lot more you can say than that. Albany played a fantastic series. They have a huge upside. Their future is very, very bright. I don't think that they have anything to hold their heads down about. And I know that Glenn Clark is looking at a couple of little things. I know he was getting frustrated with some of the stuff that was going on also. But, hey, that's just that is the game. Yeah, exactly. And again, besties, on and off. It's an interesting question. Well, let's see. He's I think he's at 8 now, right? No,
he would
he'd
just be at 6.
Sure.
He'd be at 6.
6.
Be at 6. There's a few of them then. I'd have to take a look and see if anybody from the Toronto Rock early days. Beltman, maybe. Bartley. Anyways, something look at that. I'm pretty sure that Veltman has 9, if I think about it right. But that's it. Anyway, so the NLL came out with their all-star teams. And why don't we have a gander at that? First team all-star, of course, Josh Byrne, Jeff Teat, Ryan Dilks, Mitch DeSnew, Jake Withers, and Nick Rose. Second team all-star, Dane Smith, Connor Fields, Brad Cree, Doug Jameson, Ian McKay, Kyle Rubich. Pretty good teams, I would say.
Yeah.
The all-rookie team, Alex Simmons, Ty Kurtz, Owen Grant, Braden Lady, Thomas McConvey, Caleb Jones. Hell, if there's any team that would take that and make that a team, that's just insane. But looking at our winners, Offensive Player of the Year is Josh Byrne. Defensive Player of the Year, Ryan Dilks. Transition Player of the Year is Jake Withers. Finally, Goalie of the Year, Nick Rose. There was no denying him this time, I don't think. Coach and GM of the Year was Glenn Clark. Executive of the Year, John Catalano. MVP, Josh Byrne. Rookie of the Year was Alex Simmons. Lyle Thompson with the Sportsmanship Award. Should we just give it to him at the beginning?
Yeah, we just call it Lyle Thompson Sportsmanship Award and just get over with. And
that's about it.
Yeah, that's his 6th straight, I believe so.
Zach Greer, Teammate of the Year. And Adam Levi as the Media Person of the Year. I like that pick.
Yeah.
Adam's done a lot. He's had some great articles and is very accessible. Really like that. I think real plus to the NLL team. Now, we've talked about this before, and it was in the Saskatchewan heyday that we talked about this. All these awards, I don't see a lot of Western guys. Do the West not match up? Or are we just so East-based that we don't see it because they're late games? But the only people I saw there was Dilks and Greer. And Greer was Teammate of the Year. So it wasn't even one of these other categories. So what am I missing here?
Usually I'm all for the whole, East bias, but it's just looking purely at the standings this year. West really did too much, did they? Is San Diego?
Yeah. I mean, beyond San Diego and late charge from Vancouver. I mean,
not a wing anywhere either, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Shane Simpson was nominated for Transition Player, I believe, right?
Yeah,
that's
right.
And Kyle Rubish was nominated for Defensive. Player of the Year?
Right.
No, I'm sorry, he wasn't. It was Desnu and Creed along with Dilks.
Yeah.
Well, Owen Grant was nominated for Rookie of the Year. Well,
And I guess the NLL way is just by putting them on the All-Star teams, but there's a little bit of recognition, but not really. I'm just
like I said,
the
usually
East,
I have the one.
you know,
Usually I'm the one blowing the
based
horn
in the
about
East.
West, right? But
I'm based in the East, and I see mostly Eastern players. But I find it hard to believe that San Diego finished second, and really you had nobody in there from San Diego. I find that really hard to believe.
I think you would have had a hard time for Offensive Player of the Year. You know, even going with Austin Stotts, just because the numbers just weren't quite up to where. I mean, you didn't even see Connor Fields get nominated for Offensive Player. I mean, they can only nominate 3 guys, and they nominated basically the top 3 scorers in the league. Fields was 4th, and I think Austin Stotts might have been 5th.
Well, the reason there's no Reed Bowering in the thing there because how do you take the transition away from Jake Withers?
Yeah. Well, that I think Mike makes a great point about San Diego. Is you look up and down the lineup, which one you would say they deserve one of those awards? They had a good year, yes, but there were other players in the league that had better years.
Yeah, if anyone, I mean, between Stotts and Fields, I would think Fields might have more of a gripe at not being nominated for Offensive Player or MVP, just based on what he had to carry and
right.
You know, but that.
Oh, you could have given
unfortunately, I think the way the Nighthawks season went with just the absolute streakiness they encountered, you couldn't.
Right.
I would have had a hard time justifying putting him over Smith or Teat or Byrne.
I'd almost like to revisit this question next year because I think there's going to be West teams that are going to be a lot better next year.
Well, I expect Vancouver to make a lot of noise next year.
Yeah, I think Vancouver, Saskatchewan, could do a lot next year as well.
I mean, I think Calgary will rebound. I think, give Panther City another year with just kind of some more cohesion. I think their biggest need is probably going to be someone at the dot. Whether that's, I suppose they can go with Tyler. I suppose that,
because that's the tale of two teams.
Yeah, I know he's approaching 40, but look at what Matt Vince just did.
But Matt Vince isn't running up and down the floor.
He isn't, but
also Matt Vince is in probably the best shape of anybody I know, young or old. He's in incredible shape.
I think Crawford's in incredible shape too, and he put up pretty decent numbers for someone his age.
Yeah.
Who
again,
is running around the floor.
If by some chance he says that's it, Panther City's in trouble because they're a whole different team without him.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly, I would lean toward him hopefully coming back. I think just based on the fact that, the trade in the first place from the Riptide to Panther City was done specifically to cut down on his travel. Right. So, he lives out in the Midwest, so getting to home games isn't nearly the trouble it used to be when he was, say, in New England or New York.
Sure. What do you think the issue is in Georgia? Because at times they look like they can just blow the doors off people, and then they went through a funk there for about 4 or 5 games where they couldn't get 10 goals with all that firepower. Is it too much relying on Lyle Thompson? Because each in their own right is a star. You get a Seth Oakes, you get a Shane Jackson, you get an Andrew Q. All can be stars anywhere.
They
I think
can't.
Larson, yeah.
Jackson's season was definitely up and down.
Yeah.
You know, he'd put up, say, 4-2, and then,
0-2.
0-2 the next game.
That's the weird thing. Like you said, all the parts are in place. It's just it comes down to consistency, and where does that lie?
Yeah. I think
Not on a coaching, or is that a player thing? I don't know.
Right.
You definitely want to see. I'm sure Shane Jackson himself would tell you he'd like to have the consistency he had the year he won MVP,
Sure.
where it was guaranteed hat trick every game.
Right.
And I'm sure Georgia would probably like to see that same level of consistency out of Brendan Bomberry as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna say, let's not forget that while Dobson is an astounding goaltender, he's still young too. He's
Yeah, he
still
just
going to
finished his
have those
second
bumps,
year.
right? He's still going to have those bumps in the road, which is going to happen, which is not going to help as well with that win-loss record.
Absolutely. Now, Philadelphia, I don't even want to get into that one until we figure out who's going to be their next head coach. Who is going to be something that Paul Day can work with and can pick up where they left off and try and fix that defense, because we all know that's the reason. No, Cormier goes to Vancouver, I believe. I think I'm right there.
I'd have to check. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. That sounds right, though. But Georgia does have 3 first-round draft picks, I believe.
Yeah.
And I've got my full first-round order here now. Now that the playoffs are done. Yeah, Georgia picks 3rd. That's from Philly via Rochester. They pick 9th. That's Panther City's pick. And then they pick 11th.
Right.
So 3 of the first 11 picks, which is pretty nice. So, and we've seen they've had years past where they've had 3 first round picks, and have done different things with them. Make a couple picks, trade one, wheel and deal.
Mm-hmm.
So they have options.
Right. Rex, thank you for following us. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for commenting. I would say a safe bet is going with an STX stick. They're not expensive. They're strung well, and you can learn well with them. And you don't have to worry about mucking it up when you're learning how to shoot. So I would go with that. And again, you can get a good one for under $100. So I would go with that. Ironically, Nike's got some sticks, and they're actually pretty good ones as well. And again, not expensive. So I wouldn't be looking at the Gates ones and those ones just yet, but or the Epic ones. But yeah, those should be decent beginner sticks for you to get it. But I would go with an STX stick. Just type that, Google that, and have a look and see. Since I was a boy.
To answer his question, not at all.
Yeah, same here. Not at all.
The first one at 6 or 7, so a little ways, yeah. But yeah, to say, come back to the coaching question: do they go and fleece into the Bandits like we were talking about with a Darius or a Rich Kilgore, who might fit the Philadelphia mold as well? And I know Darius is looking to get back into doing things. He's been doing some scouting, and he's coaching Senior B and things like that. So he's not far away from it, and he's got the fire and passion.
Might be the save money. That's the downside of winning 2 straight championships. Other teams are going to start.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. He has no box experience. He is the golden boy for U.S. lacrosse field. But so was Tom Schreiber, and so was Kieran McCardle until they came in and fell in love with box. Thanks, Doug. But yeah,
Yeah, and just going back to Albany for a sec, based on Mike's comment about or your comment, your response there about McArdle. That's another thing to put in perspective with Albany's season. Ethan Walker had to become the number one on the left-hand side this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise at the beginning of the year when McArdle said he's done with box.
Yeah. So a little bit of change in roles, and boy,
not at the level that we're looking at to do this, but again, the skills that he has in field, I don't see why he wouldn't be
they can't translate.
Can't transfer.
Absolute ace. And sure hope that Philadelphia doesn't pick him so that Toronto can and continue along with their field transition into box players. That would certainly be great with Toronto with number 2. First pick worthy. That depends on if you want to risk that, because Philadelphia has defensive issues, not offensive issues. Lots of offense there. No defense. Nobody to help Higgins. So I think
that's another thing. That's another thing with Albany to consider too, with Dyson Williams coming in. Trying to retain kind of the guys that you have, and I believe they still have Michael Sowers under contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, or still have his rights anyway. He might be on holdout, but there's another guy, some limited box experience, but maybe after PLL he's looking to
right.
Yeah.
He's looking.
And as for Carter Page, I think that all depends on who Paul Day puts in as his coach, and how they confer and how they work and what they see as where they need to go in the direction. But it's
philosophies could change.
Yeah. There's a fork in the road in Philadelphia, and if they pick the wrong one, they're going to go around in a circle before they can go back forward. So it's a very, very important draft, even though it's not as deep or as rich as some of the other ones. But it certainly is a deep enough draft where if you're looking to rebuild or build, this is one that if you are strategic, you can find a couple of really good players in the first couple of rounds.
And don't forget that strategy. That strategy could include trading that pick for established defensive players.
That's true.
So,
it's
I would
play, but if he doesn't have the size, he's going to get banged around, and that'll take him off his game.
Yeah.
So I see what Doug is saying there, and I agree. He needs to thicken up. It's a lot different in field where you have a lot more room to avoid. You're going to meet up with me in a corner, or worse off, mid-floor, and we've seen what's happened when those things come. But
true.
Free agents will be a whole other animal, and that'll come before him. But again, I don't think Philadelphia is in any position to do anything until they figure out their head coaching.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many strategies you could take with the draft too, because most offensive guys go first round anyways. Do you take the best player available first overall, knowing that you probably get a very good defenseman later in the draft? Again, there's so many variables that could come into play here.
Right. But unless you're using it as trade bait.
You got that too, yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, I wouldn't discount that option of, just calling up other teams and saying, how would you like to have the first round? How would you like to have the number 1 pick? But you got to give us one of your better defensive players.
Would Philadelphia want to try and dangle that first pick over with Vancouver? Because there's a couple of defensemen that they could to do that one.
They have history. I think I feel like the issue is.
I think they'd have to give up more than just Bowering for that number 1, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, lot more. And I just think that part of the problem is if if they're going to another team and saying, hey, we're going to offer you the number 1 pick. We want, one of your better or more established defensive players. I feel like most teams are in search of defense. Maybe not to the extent that Philadelphia is, but they're going to turn around and say, okay, well, you got to give us another defensive player back if they're not interested in just, passing draft capital back and forth.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's issue just in general, just what Mike had said in the comments, right? It's going to be more than just that first draft pick. So how much are you going to give up if you're Philly?
Yeah. I mean, I would hope Mitch Jones is more or less untouchable to whoever the head coach is coming in. And
I think there'd be a riot if they got rid of him.
So, I understand he's a Western guy, but I just, he's already done a tour of duty in Vancouver. I understand it wasn't under Kurt Milosky, but
that'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would, and I don't want this to be misconstrued as a knock on Mitch Jones or something like that, but it to send him back to Vancouver would completely, I think, throw off chemistry on that left side, because once you traded him, it was basically like you were telling Adam Charlambides, look, you're the number 1. This is your side to run.
Yeah.
You need to go with it. They knew he was ready.
That's the $1 million question,
But
right?
yeah.
Hey, Guido, thank you for jumping in with us here.
If my first thought, if they're dealing with a Western team to deal this number 1 pick and they have to give up a defensive player, my first thought is Jackson Ganton, just because he's an Alberta native. Mm-hmm. So if he wants to go back, or if he wants or needs to go back out west, that's a young player that you just drafted. But again, it's a young player.
Yeah,
on the flip side, it's a guy you just
players.
drafted and you're hoping to build, and you're hoping that, you're hoping to have him build chemistry with Mitchell Armstrong, who you drafted at the same time. So a lot of that needs to be taken into account. I still think there are some guys who aren't going anywhere. I feel like
I was wondering about Blaze. Do you look at moving him?
That's tough. It's tough for me. It's tough for a couple of reasons. One, you just named him captain. Two, there's that injury factor. He wasn't quite the same after the injury. Though admittedly, boy, they had a number of guys who were injured, and to me, all of them, it felt like they just weren't quite the same after the injury. They just couldn't quite get back to the level.
Instead of getting rid of your young guys, should you be thinking more getting rid of guys like maybe Chad Tutton, who really had done nothing the last couple of years since you signed him? Marcus Minicala? I think he's too small, to tell you the truth. He's listed at 165. I'd say that's a stretch.
I mean, I'd say yes, but, now you're getting into the whole value thing. It's like, okay, well,
Well, you have to do something, right?
Yeah. You do.
Changes, I think, is
but if I'm another GM, how what's to stop any other GM from thinking that this is just a throwaway player? With that, just using your mindset with the question.
Right. Mike comes up with a good point too. Do they give Rambo another chance? Is Rambo interested in coming back in the or does he go and become part of the trade?
I would think it would have to be that.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't know all the rumors, but it seemed like the end of his last year that he played, that things just weren't clicking and he wasn't happy with, either limited role or being scratched.
Yeah, well, he's not the guy. That season. So,
yeah.
So,
but you see, I'm almost also interested in how did Buffalo get Connor Farrell, and Philadelphia didn't. He's sitting there waiting. And why wouldn't Philadelphia have gone, since they had all kinds of problems at faceoff, or they just didn't matter? But that's not a day thing because, well, he's at Withers in Peterborough. So it is definitely a part of his psyche to have a face-off guy.
It is. Yeah. I think that is sort of another $1 million question, because we saw 2 years ago with Albany, Nardella goes down after the first few games, and they tried plugging guys in.
Right.
They had Zach Tucci and Jonah Boehm and other guys I can't even remember. I think they even had Tyna Thompson taking face-offs, majority of face-offs at one point.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were trying options, and I guess when you look at it that way, it seems like Philly just didn't address it. They just decided, okay, hey, look, we're going with Davis Allen, and then at a certain point, they just decided, okay, let's just sign Nick Rowlett and let him handle it, and it is what it is.
If you have the right defense, I've seen that, and I watched that in Toronto for years, that the faceoff guy really didn't matter. But once they got Erlin, all of a sudden the faceoff guy mattered. And it just gives you that many more opportunities. And when you're not doing a whole lot of scoring, or your defense is in a little bit of trouble, it may not be a big deal if you got a good defense, but if your defense is in trouble and you don't have a faceoff guy, so you're automatically on defense, that's suicide.
Yeah. Well, the point I'll make is that I know Derek Keen's brought it up a number of times when he's been interviewed, is about just a Fogo. All right, he's going to have a guy who's going to take up his roster spot purely just to take faceoffs, or you get a faceoff specialist that can also take a regular shift on defense or a regular shift on offense.
Well, you had Baptiste like that when he first started, but he developed into a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Erlin, he was that when he first got
him. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. We're seeing that a lot
Withers,
now too.
Nardella
too.
Nardella
Withers
too.
was another one too. Yeah, and he's deadly. He's another Jeff Snyder. Even has the same temperament. Can lose his mind. I was
just gonna say, I do get where Derek Keen's coming from. Yes, you can develop guys, but if you're just bringing a guy strictly just to take faceoffs, that's taking up a roster spot.
Isn't that what Farrell did with Buffalo? Though it seemed to work.
I mean, it did.
With mixed results, I would think
it did.
Well, better than 0 wins, right?
Yeah.
How many of those faceoffs in the game 1 and 2 do you think changed things up? Because otherwise, it would have been a steamroller for Nardella and Albany.
That's true.
Buffalo goes and scores. Buffalo wins a faceoff. Buffalo goes down and scores. Buffalo wins a faceoff. Buffalo goes down and scores. Well, there's your run, and that's the whole. Yeah, that's the ball game.
That's true, but I feel like. Well,
but they also had a good enough defense where when he does lose it.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, that run in game 1 happened anyway, but Nardella still won 2/3 of the faceoffs, I believe, on the night.
But we talked about that, and that was the fourth quarter of punishment from the defense. But again, we're talking about a team that's got strong defense where they can afford to lose it. When you have a weak defense and you're not winning faceoffs, you're not doing anything. You're playing basically shorthanded.
True.
Those guys are going to get gassed fast.
And I would add to the Fogo debate, if you plan for that, If you're one of these teams, say, like, we'll just use Philly, who was struggling on face-offs, or even Buffalo first half of the season before they got Farrell. If you're game planning to just, okay, we're going to lose the face-off, but we're just going to focus our team on attacking the face-off guy to basically force a turnover, so that we, hey, we lost the face-off, but we got possession anyway. If you're game planning for that, which, hey, Albany had to do that 2 years ago for most of the season.
Yeah, and if you bolster your defense knowing you're going to lose face-offs, and you can get that stop, you're 1-for-1 now, right?
Right. It's a good question. Sure. And my other question is, will Max Adler want to come back? He seems pretty content. Because I'm sure he had conversations with Buffalo before they went out and got Farrell. He's healthy.
Oh, you mean content with not playing box?
Yeah. I don't know what went into the thought of him not coming back, because he was doing pretty well. He was actually one of the, in my list, one of the top 10 faceoff guys. So
was it just a work thing this year? Maybe
it's possible, but again, if going to Philadelphia, would that be any better? Further to the East Coast, he is based in the East, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
No.
Works for ESPN behind the scenes. Well, I don't think that would be an issue then, work-wise. But again, if Paul Day is saying, well, if it's not important, that's a problem. Because right now, everything to do with defense is a problem, other than transition. Transition, he's still got a couple of gazelles.
Yep.
I like it myself.
If anything, I might be a little bothered by the fact that they did this year kind of the double header and then the game 3. I mean, I know they did that with the semifinals too, but I would have thought.
July.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, but I would have thought.
You're not going to put a game on a Wednesday.
I would have thought at least with the finals they would have spaced it out so that we would have had just one game this weekend, one game next weekend, and then
they might have changed that up, but just distancing because they're so close.
Again, summer ball and PLL also have take issue in this one. I would suggest if they took
true, but that's only 2 teams.
Yeah.
You're only talking 2 teams left out of 15.
How many of those Bandits players are playing?
Yeah, no, a number, and I agree. A number of them are.
So.
But had they
when you're making a schedule,
had they done a game every week, had they done every game every weekend from this weekend, you only would have gone as far as first weekend of June.
Right.
So
that's your
first weekend of PLL, and it's only 1 week into MSL and WLA seasons. 1 or 2 weeks.
Well, don't forget that the Albany game had issues already. Next weekend they had to move it from Friday to Saturday. But as for a 3-game series as opposed to a 1 game,
yes, absolutely,
yes,
love
absolutely,
it, love it. And the 2-game and a mini game was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I had to sit through that in Rochester. And when I had Miloski on the other show and we were discussing that, I had already mentioned that year is, well, if you're won the first game and you're behind in the second game, sit everybody. So everybody's fresh for the 10-minute overtime. And sure enough, that's what he did. He sat everybody after winning game 1, losing game 2, and they almost pulled it off. But the Matt Vince factor, they wound up scoring. They were up 2-0, and then Rochester came back with 3, and that was it. But a 10-minute thing for your season, to me, is stupid.
Yeah.
You make another game on another day, and that's it. But as for any given Sunday idea, anybody can win on any given night. Let's put this 2 out of 3 and earn it. And that's what we've seen since. And we've seen some great series. Like since they've done this, Calgary and Buffalo both were great series. That was terrific. The two Colorado and Buffalo ones have been fantastic. This one was a good one, even though it was only a 2-game series. So, yeah, more bang for our buck, and the team that's supposed to win does win. There's no flukes.
Yeah, that's why I've never been a huge fan of the one and done to begin the playoffs, because if you're the better team and you have an off night, you're out of the playoffs. Never really a huge fan of that, but...
Well, again, the first round, they do it just because we can't go into July.
Yeah.
Or even June for that matter. It just, the problem with being weekend warriors,
yeah.
right? But maybe down the road, if it becomes a full-time thing, then you can do it and have a Tuesday night game and have attendance. But right now, if you have a Tuesday night game in most arenas, you're going to be by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the Thursday night game in Toronto when it was still in Toronto. And, it was a sparse crowd. Granted, it was about -20 out, but it was still a sparse crowd compared to what you were going to get on a Friday or a Saturday. So, and the Monday, I've seen a few of those in Georgia. If you remember, Mike Reed Reinhold had us look up all the games that were played during the week.
Yeah.
To argue with the league from the Players Association. So obviously they don't want that either. At least not now, and not in this framework. So, alrighty, let's leave it there. I want to remind everybody that we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on Thread, we are on YouTube. Please visit all of them. Please head to our YouTube page. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the guy down the street. Please subscribe to us there. We have lots of stuff going up. Again, the newest retro game is a 2002 Vancouver against Buffalo in a not-so-full Bandit Land. So if you want to see what Bandit Land looked like when they were getting sparse crowds, that game is a good indicative showing of that era before Bandit Land is what it is now. So they weren't always 19,000 people there. There was the time from leaving the odd into whatever they call it, whether it was Midland Arena, HSBC, whatever, that it was sparse. And then it came back. So it can happen everywhere. So I wouldn't just sit on your horses that all your friends are there. Throw a losing team in there a couple of seasons and see how the place is not full anymore. So also, please check us out 3, 4, 5 times a day because the news is always changing. Also, we have lots of weekday games now with summer ball going on. So there is lots of recaps and lots of other news to behold, as well as free agency will be coming up. And then, of course, the draft down the road. So lots of things going on this summer. You were going to say something, Shawn?
I'm sorry?
Were you, because it looked like you were ready to.
Nope.
Okay. Very good. Very good. We're into last words, guys. Shawn, I'll let you start since I already got you jumping around there.
You already got me going. No, I was really looking forward to WLA starts up next weekend. Plus, Junior A is already rocking out here in the West. So, yeah, I was looking forward. A lot of lacrosse still to come.
Absolutely. Mike, last words.
Just congratulations to the Bandits again. I don't believe we went over the WLA schedule for the week, but I have it in front of me. If
Go ahead, sure.
So Thursday we start with Burnaby at New Westminster. Friday there's 2 games. We've got Langley at Victoria and Coquitlam at Burnaby. And then Saturday we have Nanaimo at Coquitlam, and Sunday is Victoria at Maple Ridge. So
right on. Bring on summer ball is right. Looking forward to coming up to Peterborough and seeing you guys. I have one other thing before we go is tomorrow's game in Six Nations. Again, the junior game at 4, and then 8:00 is the Owen Sound Six Nations Chiefs game. But it is free admission tomorrow, so they'd like to pack the place. If you're in the area, let's head down there. I'm going there. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be up there early as well because I always love wandering the halls and all the history and all the other stuff that's in the hallways, as well as checking out the store, because you got some great deals at the ILA sports shop there. If you're looking for lacrosse equipment and you're in that area, that is a terrific place for your gear and also for swag. So it's going to be a great day. Absolutely, Guido. I can't wait. It's too bad that Peterborough's first home game isn't until June 13th or something like that. So still a little ways off, but I will be up there. And I got this bad boy for Davis to sign. An old Montreal Quebecois shirt.
Sweet.
Nice.
Ain't that something? So that's going to come up with me also to the borough. So anyways, why don't we call it a week, guys? It was a busy week. A lot of great stuff going on and a lot of great stuff ahead of us next week. So don't forget to give us a look and give us a check many times, because the news is always changing. And like I say every week, we always have our finger on the pulse of the situation. Things are really going to be busy. So you're going to want to come back a number of times. For Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw and Muffler Mike over in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. Wishing you the best of weeks as always. Keep your stick in your hands. And until next Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll see you then. Take care.